Inside EVs put up an article that starts with Toyota finally decided to go all electric from 2020 with a new BEV platform and 6 global BEV models, including crossovers, SUVs, and more.
Wink, wink.
Now, we did a couple of weeks ago talk about the BEV F, whatever, the CHR. Yeah. The Toyota version, the ugly one.
Crossover.
And then it had an equivalent. And these were both going to be all electric, and they're only going to be in China. So that was mentioned. Oh, yeah, you know what? I should read the article because it says right here, the CHR and the Toyota Aizoa BEV twins in China. And they said that by 2025, all models will have electrified versions, if only hybrid versions. And at this announcement, they actually had the clay versions that Russell has put up. So these aren't
they
functioning.
were clay, not styrofoam?
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, it was referenced that usually the clay models are only for internal testing. I don't know exactly what these were made of. To be honest,
is way better than renders.
Yeah, so at least they weren't renders, and they wanted to show people what they were looking at. And you know, they have some of the slides from the presentation talking about you know, the milestones in electrified vehicles, where we are now and where Toyota sees them going. They see BEVs, full electric vehicles, having a small portion of the market. They actually make room for the fuel cells, which any room is too much room. And the plug-in hybrids and hybrid electric vehicles, they have for the lion's share of what they see the market is going to be by 2050. So they did mention the 2 crossovers that they had, the ZOA and the CHR. And then this is where it gets kind of interesting. They plan on releasing a compact car, partnering with Suzuki and Daihatsu. They are planning a medium crossover, a medium sedan, a medium minivan. They're going to partner with Subaru for a medium SUV, and then they're going to have a Toyota branded large SUV. And those, you know, again, this is the render part. But let me go ahead and share this picture here. This is just a rendering of 6 some nice looking cars and some just butt ugly renderings. I mean, this thing right here, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know exactly what to do.
It's the contractor van.
That.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've seen the Kia Soul, right?
Yeah.
And the Nissan Cube and the Ford Transit Connect. And
this is interesting. That's a minivan. This looks a little more normal. I could see people actually driving.
Yeah, that one looks like the Highlander.
That's not far off of a RAV or Highlander.
Yeah. But then they get into like the sleek sort of
looks
thing
like the Lexus
here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess this is the small SUV looking thing. But yeah, they have here like some of the slides, like so we all know that the TNGA, Toyota, is a new global architecture.
Yeah, new generation
architecture. Yeah. Well, they have the eTNGA, and you can see that they have things like the motor in the front, and then maybe if there's a motor in the back. So you have some variability here. This section is fixed in front. The wheelbase can be made bigger, and then from the top view, you can see how they can stretch it out. So they plan on having this eTNGA platform that they can manipulate based on the different type of vehicles that they're planning on releasing. And then they talk about the motors themselves, the front motor and the rear motor. And, you know, of course, we all know where front motors, rear motors, and all-wheel drive belong right here. And then showing how they'll be able to do variations and multiple variations here by, you can see like the overhang, short, long, the wheelbase, short, medium, long, and just the combinations that they come up with. And then throw a different facade on it, and it's almost like, voila, you have a different car kind of thing. yeah, so then, talking about the different vehicles, and I'm scrolling. Here's the little smart looking thing, tiny, but what I want to get to are these things, which, okay, I think these are interesting, and the middle one, ignore the middle one. The middle one is just stupid. But an electric wheelchair, essentially, which is awesome.
That
Great.
first one's like a Walmart thing, right?
It kind of
Yeah.
is. It gives you that
A
impression.
mobility scooter is,
A
I think, the
mobility scooter.
common phrase. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the one on the right.
That's an
I
upgrade
think-
for the old school wheelchair.
Yeah, and there's a video that's showing this, and everyone should go to the InsideEVs.com article and watch this video, because they hook this up to the wheelchair, and then you have the handles, and now basically, like you said, an old school wheelchair is now motorized. That's pretty cool. That's a great thing. Yeah, and they kind of show different applications and uses. Yeah, there's
The third one's ugly as shit.
Yeah, pointlessly ugly and stupid.
Yeah,
Actually, so Toyota has an arm that makes these little tiny things. Daihatsu, they make these little mini. Usually, they're commercial, like trucks.
I think Daihatsu means shitbox in Japanese.
Oh my God.
It may, but I mean, they make these things that are like utilitarian golf carts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, one of the things, and Tony, forgive me,
Mm-hmm.
one of for me, the big takeaway here is Toyota, Subaru, Suzuki, and Mazda. They're all in on this.
Mm-hmm.
4 companies.
I was kind of saving that for your part. Yeah.
Oh, well, then I'm glad I.
Right, because your article,
like the Eagle twins, triplets.
They're like more like is it Megatron? Well, no, what was it? No, not
Well,
Megatron.
like the Eagle Talon, the Dodge Dart. And,
No,
whatever.
it's more like when the
Megatron, no, Voltron.
Voltron, when they all come together.
The big lion.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's some videos down here, and you should all watch the videos, because granted, a lot of them are, and I'm scrolling, and this is going to make everyone sick. So
stop that.
So just stop presenting me.
You're not presenting.
Well, a lot of those other
There you
companies
go.
already use a lot of Toyota electronics technology from their Denso, subsidiary. So kind of makes sense that Toyota is kind of the sun, and all the other companies are planets that revolve around it for this type of stuff, because it's hard for one company to engineer all that.
Right. And we've said for years, we've mocked Toyota, we've laughed at Toyota, we've scoffed them, we've done every negative thing we can, because they had the lead with the Prius in 2004, and their only competition was the Honda Insight and maybe the Civic Hybrid, and they pretty much quickly crushed that. And then, just like Nissan with the Leaf, it seemed that Toyota had just rested on their laurels and said, nope, this is it. This is all we're going to do. Nope, this is it. This is all we're going to do. This might actually give us hesitation in questioning their intentions, because we had even said that you're throwing it away, but maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they're working on something. And this, I think, was the ball dropping.
Or maybe they've figured out the actual solid state batteries, how to make it actually work in the real world, and that's what these will have.
And I think that is a perfect segue into Russell's article. Right? Because isn't it your article that mentions the solid state?
So I mean, I think the big takeaways from this are the consortium, as it were, that Toyota is putting together. This is going to help them spread the costs and spread the sales, make this more practical, which has always been one of, whether we accept it or not, and most of the time, speaking only for myself, I haven't. But that's always been one of Toyota's practical things. Nobody's going to make money on EVs right now. We're not going to get in and lose money. So I think this is them looking at this pragmatically and going, okay, now's a good time for us to get involved. what's the best way to do it. So the first part of that is that consortium. The second part is obviously this TNGA architecture that they can do all these different things on. The mobility devices are actually a super important thing. I think it's probably more important in Japan in some ways, PR wise, because we tend to kind of go, we like cars, we're Americans. But we're looking at two countries with aging populations. So the idea that there will be something like this from a company with a brand name like Toyota, as opposed to Rascal or Wonderful Scooter or Zoomy Scooter or some other piece of crap that's going to blow up and burn your grandma to death, is a big deal in a small way. Okay. I'm personally not all that excited about it, but I think it's cool. I wish they were making a motorcycle and a scooter. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to wait until I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah, the other thing is Toyota's talked very, very quietly and very, very minimally about solid state battery architecture, which they have been working on. And at this point, Toyota says that they will be able to deploy that battery technology as early as late next year.
Yeah, the mention of the Olympics.
Yeah, right. And obviously a lot of that is because the Olympics are in Japan, because Toyota's a Japanese company. That's there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in that. We don't know anything about solid state batteries other than they're called solid state batteries. And in general, I think the show has taken a very skeptical attitude, whether it's graphene microtubes or cold fusion or whatever. There's always a new, amazing magic battery around the corner, and it never seems to really get there. Of course, fuel cells are part of some of this rollout, which I hate. Some people, I think you have to understand the context that this comes in. I'm not defending hydrogen. I'm trying to explain it so that you understand it. It's not just an evil fossil fuel thing. It's in Japan. It is a more, what was that? So Mark posts, Norway hydrogen station explodes. Toyota and Hyundai halt sales. Yes, they do.
I was just bringing that up.
Yeah, just to do. And Toyota's had a hell of a time getting hydrogen into their station. But again, keep in mind, this is a Japan thing. I think that's where a lot of this comes from, where it's a much smaller place, where the infrastructure is more established already. So hydrogen there for that particular market works a little bit better than it does here, where it doesn't really work at all for a consumer vehicle. So whatever, I don't, that'll come. Listen, Toyota is not going to lose much money on it before they go, yeah, screw it, we're putting batteries in them. Just to summarize this before we start diving too deep into this, the first EVs from Toyota will be launched in the Chinese market in 2020, and then the rest of the world. I didn't see a country by country breakdown with dates. Did you, Tony?
No, that was not provided.
Yeah, so it's vague. It's vague. We don't know when, but I will say this, and again, a lot of people probably disagree. Toyota doesn't talk a lot. And they don't talk a lot of bullshit. I mean, other than self-charging hybrids. They have their mistakes once in a while, but for the most part, this is a conservative company that only says something when they got it ready.
Yeah.
So and they committed to have every model electrified, even if only a hybrid version in 2025. That's 6 years.
Yeah.
It's really 5 model years away. That's
the only thing I would like to point out is that over the past 5 years, 6 years, Toyota has done this on again, off again electric platform a number of times. Like you're right. They don't talk about things much, but they seem to want to get that out. Then they're cool on it. Then they're hot on it. Then they're cool on it. Like, I don't know if this is one of the cycles or not.
That's a good point.
No argument there at all, Mark. I absolutely.
Maybe they're just waiting for Tesla stock to tank, and they'll just buy Tesla and
and what? Close it?
roll it into.
And say, look, we have EVs.
Given how well the last Toyota Tesla partnership went,
Mhm.
I'm not seeing that.
It's got a T on it. I mean, what's so hard?
So back to this thing. Toyota's talking about the Japanese market getting an ultra compact 2-seater iRide. That's that stupid little thing, and
Smart
who
company.
really gives a shit about it? The other thing that I thought was interesting is that, and I'm just going to read from this Bertel Schmidt article on The Drive, and I just said that to trigger all the Tesla fans. Toyota and its partners will need so many batteries that they signed a total of 4 additional battery suppliers. Cattle, BYD, GS USA, which is a huge battery company, and Toshiba. Together with Toyota's existing Prime Earth EV battery venture and the new joint venture with Panasonic. This is one of the largest battery consortiums of battery producers on the planet.
So what's interesting with that is GS Yasu is Honda's primary supplier of batteries, and Panasonic is Tesla's.
Sure.
Yeah, and Cattle is every Chinese manufacturer's primary supplier.
You know, this goes all over the place, right? Denso makes things for lots of people. Whether
Bosch makes stuff for all the European cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's lots of these suppliers. Number one, there's no need for you to make your own batteries. You can. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying there's not necessarily a need. And here's somebody that's, they're spreading it out over a bunch of different companies, which probably has some advantages. You get to see who's producing it more efficiently, better quality, all that kind of thing. I mean,
or if a tsunami takes out one of your suppliers, hopefully the other one is still going to be in production.
That hurt. Ouch. Ouch. So that's all I got. I mean, this is a big promise. This isn't a reality. This is, some clay cars, which they admitted. They didn't say, hey, these are production prototypes. These are styrofoam and clay cars that are there to show. But again, just the idea that this happened is a little bit different than I think in their announcements in the past. And it'll be interesting to see as time goes forward. I hope Toyota, please follow through on this, please.
And it wasn't an announcement. It was a full-on,
right.
They flew people in. They had journalists from multiple different sources. This was a big deal.
Yeah. And to your points, both of you, is that, some manufacturers will give you endless press releases. And whenever Toyota says something, it may not always come through, but they have a really good track record of announcing stuff that they intend to actually make happen.